Welcome back, brothers and sisters. I am Braden. This is Langley Outdoors Academy, and thank you for stopping by. All right, guys, on this episode of the Bullet Points this morning, we are going to dive further into this bipartisan gun control act that they passed through the filibuster last night. Now, this is incredibly important because the stuff that we're going to look at right now pertains directly to the red flag laws. Now, the red flag laws are a huge portion of this initiative and something the Republicans are trying to glean benefit from and say, look how much we protected your constitutional rights. The far left wanted to do all these things. John Cornyn is a perfect example. The only thing before I get into this is if a thief comes to your house and says, I'm going to steal everything that you own, and the cops show up and say, hey, good news, they only got the car. They still got the car. Just saying. Now, everything in here, this is incredibly important. It'll be linked in the description box below. I want to hear from you guys on this one because this is stuff that impacts every American. Now, let's dive into this. If you guys think you are getting information that is beneficial and you send this out and you think that we have earned that subscription, we would love to have you in the fold to continue our rights as we march forward together. But enough of that. Let's get this. I can't wait to hear what you guys think of this. All right. So state crisis intervention programs. It's important to note that Congress, or the Senate in this case, took the cheap way out and they said, well, we're not going to do red flag laws because that would be too unconstitutional. So what we're going to do is just put funding in place for red flag laws at a state level, which we didn't do it. It's important. All right, let's keep diving. I'm going to walk you through the exact red flag law legislation that is proposed inside this bill, which again is up for debate on the Senate floor. I'm going to walk you through it and then I'm going to show you a pretty crucial flaw in the Republican thinking here. The first part of this is implementation of state crisis intervention court proceedings and related programs or initiatives, including but not limited to mental health courts, drug courts, veterans courts, and extreme risk protection order programs, which must include at a minimum. Now, the next part I'm about to show you is where the Republicans are trying to say, look how much good we did, look how much due process we tried to protect, because due process is one of those things that's pretty crucial in our system. Okay, just saying. So when you're going down the road of, well, this could infringe and interrupt due process, because the main problem for gun rights activists was this is going to infringe upon due process. This is unconstitutional. So the Republicans said, well, we're going to put a lot of language in there that makes it very due process-y. Check it out. 1. Pre-deprivation and post-deprivation due process rights that prevent any violation or infringement. So that's before they take your guns or after they take your guns. It's both sides of these things, all right? These are the things that they're including and saying, look, we did a good job, okay? Infringement of the Constitution of the United States, including but not limited to the Bill of Rights and the substantive or procedural due process rights guaranteed under the 5th and 14th Amendments to the Constitution of the United States, as applied to the states and as interpreted by state courts and United States courts, including the Supreme Court of the United States. Such programs must include, at the appropriate phase to prevent any violation of constitutional rights, at minimum, notice the right to an in-person hearing, an unbiased adjudicator, the right to know opposing evidence, the right to present evidence, and the right to confront adverse witnesses. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to say, here's how we are protecting due process by adding these things into the red flag provisions. States, if you want to get money, you got to have these attributes in your red flag laws. That's what they're trying to do. One of my writers over at the Second Press basically put it the best way I possibly could. This is like stepping on a pile of crap with shoes on and being thankful that you weren't barefoot. Well, you still have crap on your shoes. And that's the big problem here. Now, I'm going to show you the other three provisions, and then we're going to analyze that. The right to be represented by counsel at no expense to the government. That's important. No expense to the government. Do Miranda rights sound familiar at all? Okay, we're going to come back to that in a second. Pre-deprivation and post-deprivation heightened evidentiary standards and proof. For example, the heightened evidentiary standards of proof under such programs must, at all appropriate phases, to prevent any violation of constitutional right, at minimum, prevent reliance upon evidence that is unsworn or unaffirmed, irrelevant, based on inadmissible hearsay, unreliable, vague, speculative, and lacking a foundation. Penalties for abuse of the program are not laid out in this funding bill because it's up to the states. The states have to have some sort of penalty. That's what that's in there for. Now, what I want to dive into here is this first part where it's saying, hey, look at all these due process-y parts that we put in here. And by the way, due process is something I make up to make this lighter and make it sting less. You've got an adjudicator, the right to know opposing evidence. You have the right to present evidence and the right to confront adverse witnesses. Here's the thing that the Republicans are missing on this, and this is the important piece. Even if you have due process, as they're trying or attempting to write in here, according to the 5th and 14th Amendments, you still have to take time out of your day. You still have to afford an attorney. You still have to defend your ability to have rights that the government is trying to take away. So, for example, to liken this to an everyday scenario, it's kind of like, hey, we're going to take away your rights. You can't do that. No, we can, but you have the ability to defend yourself, but we're still going to try to do it. So now, by the way, the expense is on you, not on the government. Well, but criminals have Miranda rights. If they have the right to the attorney, if they can't afford an attorney is going to be applied to them or provided to them. But not in this case. So the onus is on gun owners to A, defend your own rights that are already naturalized rights, that are something that you have. Because the state says, well, the red flag law has been initiated, but be on court for this week. And by the way, it's at your own expense. Even though you didn't initiate this, it is at your expense. And that's the big problem. The Republicans here are saying, look, and they're pounding their chest of, look how great we are. We added in due process. The whole point here is, there's no reason for due process in this scenario if this scenario did not exist. It's still an infringement on the Second Amendment rights of everyday citizens, whether you do it in one fell swoop and take everything away without due process, or you make everyone pay and take up their time of day and energy to defend their rights through due process. The point is, you're still trying to take away their rights. Whether you do a lot or you do a little, it's still infringing on Second Amendment rights, even if you try to put window dressing on it and say, look at all the due process we put in here. Because even though you put due process, anybody who has nefarious means says, well, let's see, I have a fine for abusing the program, or I can do all these activist activities, and they have to come out of pocket, and it takes up a week of their time, and now they might or might not lose their guns. Oh, well, on to the next one. And that's what they're not considering here. And that's what I've got for you. Let me know what you guys think in the comments field below, and I will see you tonight at the 9 p.m. segment where we keep hammering on this like crazy. See you later.